Hi everybody, this is a quick video on censorship and aliteracy for the book chapter. Okay, first I want to tell you about two of my very favorite books. The first is Siddhartha and by Hermann Hesse, and I read this when I was in college, and it was enormously impactful for me. It was one of a couple of books that really shaped a lot of my perspectives about the world, but I recommend it if you're looking for a deep book that might change your worldview. And another book that I read, this one was in graduate school, is E. E. Cummings' The Enormous Room. I just love this book. I can't say that it changed my life, but I just was fully absorbed in this. So anyway, another favorite. I have lots and lots of favorite books, and we'll get to that in just a second. But first I want to talk about censorship. So censorship, we have the First Amendment, and in the United States, there are very few times where we out and out censor things, in my opinion, in the deepest sense of the word. But we do have challenges to access to information all the time. So one of the things I wanted to differentiate for you is the difference between a challenge book and a banned book. And I really need you to understand that this is not necessarily the government saying you can't do this kind of stuff, the United States government, but sometimes local school boards or libraries or other entities like that will listen to the complaints of parents or other members of the community and then pull something from their shelves. That does not mean that the book is censored in the traditional sense of nobody anywhere in the United States can read it, but it may be limited access in certain arenas, which is still really, really problematic. So what's the difference between a challenged and a banned book? A challenged book is when somebody lodges the complaint and says, I want you to pull this book. I don't want my kids to be able to read this at their school, or I don't think this should be available at the public library. A banned book is once they've actually removed that book. So wanted you to kind of understand that, and you should be thinking about what kind of banned books have you read off of that list that's in our textbook. I'll bet you've read several books that were banned elsewhere, and had they been banned by your school district, you never would have had access to the information and the experiences that books can provide. Okay, but there's another, I think, bigger, larger, looming problem for the United States. It's not so much censorship in the sense of, saying you cannot publish this kind of book or you cannot read this kind of book. It's that we're sort of doing it to ourselves through aliteracy. That's not a typo. It does not say illiteracy, which means that you can't read. We're talking about aliteracy. You can read, but you choose not to. We're going to get more deeply into this in class, but this is a worrisome trend where Americans, with so many other things vying for our attention, we read very little. And in fact, there's a certain amount of emphasis, obviously, in elementary school to read, but after that, the push for it sort of goes away. And we might get a bump by certain books, that Oprah recommends, or things like, Harry Potter or The Fault in Our Stars, or I think I just blew that title. I read that book, but at any rate, things like that, Divergent, things like that. But really, we choose not to read a lot. And this is of any kind of content, not even just books. We're going to cover this more deeply in class, but I just want you to be aware that some people view this as a type of self-imposed censorship where we don't, we can have access to these books, but we choose not to. All right, we'll talk more in class.